Welcome to Gold Shields. Join NYPD veterans Tom Smith and Dan Murphy. With over 50 years of combined experience chasing drug lords, dismantling cartels, and hunting terrorists. Now they pull back the curtain, sharing raw, unfiltered stories from the front lines and the heroes who stood beside them. No topics off limits. This is real. This is true crime. This is Gold Shields.
Hey, welcome back to Gold Shields. This is Dan Murphy. Every week I'm with you along with my partner in crime, Tom Smith. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Spring's here. Can't be better than that. Hopefully the cold is over.
Oh, yeah. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. We have an amazing guest today, and we're going to get to him. But as always, we thank our friends first. Who we want to thank first, Tom?
You know what, Dan? This is a big one. And this is the premiere of our new sponsor to Gold Shields. And you just said it a little while ago. 3 years ago when we started this, we would have never even thought of having a sponsor like this on our show. And we are thrilled to announce that Galls is now a sponsor of Gold Shields.
That's right.
The number one police equipment world that is out there is now part of our show. And we're beyond words of being proud and thankful that we're responsible for Galls being part of our show, and we're thrilled.
We're blessed. You know, the folks at Galls are amazing people. They don't just bring you the most up-to-date, the best at competitive prices, police equipment, security equipment, self-protection equipment, things of that nature. They bring great stuff. They also are looking constantly for the new tools that can be out there that might help you do your job better. They're innovative. And they're everywhere. I mean, Galls has earned their place. So if you're in law enforcement, if you're in private security, if you're in fire services, if you're in a wide variety of work, you want to look to Galls online first to see what they have and use them as a benchmark, and you'll find yourself buying from Galls. I've bought loads of stuff from Galls over the years. Never been dissatisfied, always been happy with the quality, the service. They're a phenomenal company, and we're so proud to be aligned with them.
No doubt. Galls.com. Everyone go there, check them out. We're thrilled. We couldn't be more happy, and then their tactical gear on top of their Galls products is second to none. So we're thrilled about that. So thank you, Mike Fadden, everyone involved with Galls. Thank you for this opportunity and honor to be part of Galls. You know what, Dan? We've done subjects like this before on our show with the disgusting world and horrible, nightmarish world of human trafficking. We've done them before, and they all have a similar tone of just horror, nightmarish stories. But there are heroes out there defending these victims around the world, in the United States, you know, and everywhere. And we are honored to have one on with us today. Tyler Schwab is the founder and president of Libertas International, who we're going to hear all about right now. So without any further ado, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us on Gold Shields, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me. And I don't know what to say with that introduction. I looking forward to meeting this guy that you were talking up, because I don't know if I fit that mold, but I appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you guys, and congrats on the podcast. Like that's amazing.
Thank you, Tyler. You know, you're a humble guy, and humble guys are the ones that we tend to interview who are doing amazing things. It's a common theme among them. It's part of their DNA, their personality, that selflessness, that service. Tell us about how you became aware of this problem and got involved in it.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people, like, either you don't know what's happening, or you just don't really want to talk about it, because it's such a, I mean, we'll get into it, like just some of the stories. It's just nasty that people are gross, people are evil. And it's a topic that I think it's just easier to look away sometimes. And I wasn't necessarily in that camp. I was just more of like one of the people that grew up in a very sheltered place in Wyoming. And I really thought that, you know, slavery had been abolished way back when Abraham Lincoln, you know, did his thing as president. I was like, okay, well, the end of slavery, that's great. Don't have to think about it anymore. And I was a missionary in the Dominican Republic. So I was living there for a number of years, just, you know, kind of doing your thing. And you'd see situations that kind of made your skin crawl. Situations like a 70-year-old European guy that had a 14-year-old girl on his lap and they were kissing. But, you know, as someone like me, I would kind of put the blame on the girl of just like, what is she doing? Is she gold digging? Like, what is she doing with this guy? And it wasn't until I actually came and went to college and I heard someone present on human trafficking. It was a female professor, and she was talking about modern day slavery, more slaves than ever. And hearing that for the first time, like modern day slavery, it had the hook where you're like, well, what are you talking about? Like, what is that? Like that's what got me in the room. And she started to list off like all these different countries that she had traveled to, and a lot of these countries I'd never even heard of, like back then, Uganda, the Philippines, like places I'd never even heard of. And but she mentioned one of the 3 countries I'd ever been to as a 21-year-old kid, Dominican Republic, and that got the hook even more so, where it's like it's happening to someone that you potentially care about, or someone that you know. And so, 21-year-old kid, I don't have a lot to my name, really expensive textbooks, a mattress, maybe like an Xbox 360. And I sold it all just to buy a plane ticket to go back to the island and just try to find out like what was going on. And so I went to the island. I wasn't like undercover in any capacity. I was just really just a student researcher, honestly. And I read in these books and these journals that these kids are being trafficked in brothels and nightclubs and all these different places. And I was like, well, I don't know what a brothel looks like. I'll just go to a nightclub. So I went into a nightclub, and a pimp greeted me at the door, and I scanned the room, and I found this girl that looks, maybe she was like 12, 13, 14. And I asked the pimp, I was like, well, I want to spend time with her. I'm not going to do anything to her. I just want to spend time with her. And the guy, he was really defensive, like right away. He was like, well, why do you want to do anything to her? Like, are you a cop? Are you a Fed? Are you like, what are you doing? This Dominican pimp, asking me if I worked for the U.S. government. And I was like, no. I just want to buy her dinner. Like, how much does it cost for an hour of her time? And he was like, $20. And I was like, okay, if I give you 30, can I have 40 minutes and you can just watch this from the corner? He's like, oh yeah, sure. And that was my first indication of like money. Money is kind of what makes this thing move. Because this guy was so defensive until I upped the price like $10 just for 40 minutes. And then he was like, oh, yeah, whatever. Do whatever you want. The money's green. I don't care what you do. And so, I sat down with this girl, and this girl was just like, she was terrified. She was shaking. She was nervous. And I let her kind of at ease right away. I was like, hey, I'm not looking to do anything to you. I just want to find out how you ended up in this place, like this horrific place. And when I told her I wasn't going to do anything to her sexually, you would have thought I would just handed her like $2,000, like the relief that came over her face, and just like the breath of fresh air. It was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to do anything to this guy. And I was just asking her questions like, what's your story? How did you end up in this place? And she told me a horrific story to where she was really poor, lived in a really vulnerable neighborhood, and someone showed up one day and was like, hey, your daughter is really beautiful. I think I could get her a scholarship, maybe have her work as a waitress. She can earn tips and send money back to you. And for like a family that's in extreme poverty, that's also really Catholic, they thought this pimp was a godsend. And so they send their daughter with them. And her first night in the club, she arrives there. They tell her, you know what, you're not going to be a waitress. You're actually going to serve clients sexually. And here's your first one. And if you don't, we'll go after your little sister who's 7. We'll go after your family. And then your family will probably just starve because you can't send them money for food. But this girl, like I mentioned the Catholic thing earlier, because this girl was so Catholic that what this guy wanted, he wanted something apart from just regular sex. And she was so Catholic and so innocent that she had no idea what he was talking about, this sexual act that he wanted. And so what her pimps did is they beat her, and they put her in a room and made her watch 2 days of like pornography based on just that type of sexual act. So that the next time that someone asked for that, she would know what to do. And she thought that I would be that first person. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that to you. Like, I can't believe people are wanting to do that to you. And like, I'd read these numbers, like 2 million kids being trafficked across the world, 40 million modern day slaves, like in slave labor and sex trafficking, all these different things. And at that point in my journey, like none of those numbers mattered. I just knew that I had one of the 2 million right in front of me. And I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to rescue her. I didn't know what to do. So I went back to my hotel room, cried, and I came back the next day because I wanted to see her so bad. And they'd already moved her. They'd already put her to a different brothel, a different club. Like, I don't know where they took her, but she was essentially just lost in the darkness. and meeting her, like meeting that one girl, putting a face like the statistic, like that really just changed everything for me, and it changed my career path. It made me start this nonprofit, and now 10 years later, still doing it. So obviously, her impact was pretty significant.
You just told a heartbreaking story, and that story happens 1,000 times every 5 minutes around the world. You just mentioned it, 40 million trafficked kids or people in the world, making $150 billion annually because of trafficking. And, people see, like, we do this sometimes, referring to the movie Taken. Everyone, sometimes they have this impression of that's how it is. You get kidnapped, you get grabbed, you do all this, but you just told the story of how subtle it can start and how easily, when people are in vulnerable situations, it happens. And you just laid it out. The movie part is a movie. Yes, the kidnappings happen, yeah, but you just laid out how easy and in a blink this is done.
Have you ever wished you could go back in time and see the events that shape the true crime cases that fascinate you? With newspapers.com, it's like having a time machine to the past. Dive into more than 1 billion newspaper pages from 1690 to 2025 and relive the headlines that shocked entire towns. Explore newspapers from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and beyond with a simple search. Read the breaking news as it happened, crime scene reports, witness testimonies, and courtroom drama. Explore forgotten clues and see how the media shaped the narrative of infamous cases. But it's not just the major stories. Newspapers.com lets you dig into local mysteries, missing persons reports, and the small-town scandals that history forgot. It's the closest you can get to being there when it all unfolded. So, if you're ready to dig deeper into the crimes that keep you up at night, start your journey today at newspapers.com. Use the code GOLDSHIELDS for an exclusive 20% discount on your subscription.
When it comes to the safety of law enforcement, first responders, and military personnel, every moment counts, especially in the dark. Streamlight provides the reliable, high-performance lighting solutions that these heroes trust in the most dangerous situations. Whether it's a car stop, navigating dark alleyways, or exploring abandoned buildings. With Streamlight by their side, our heroes can tackle challenges with confidence, knowing they have the power of advanced lighting technology to guide them. From the first responders on the front lines to the law enforcement officers ensuring our safety, Streamlight is there to make every mission a little easier and much safer. Join us in supporting those who protect us. Visit Streamlight.com to discover how you can be part of the team keeping our heroes safe. Because when they shine, we all shine.
Yeah, and I think the part that hurts the most is like the statistics is it's more often than not going to be family members that are the ones facilitating the abuse. Like one of the most horrific cases I've ever had. It's sad, like just on all levels. Because like for me, like I'm friends with a lot of people that are in law enforcement, and like like our mutual friend Steve Murphy, like he said this quote to me that's kind of burned into my head. He's like, nobody hates a bad cop worse than a good cop. Like there's nobody that's hated more. And I had this case. Oh my gosh, it would have been 2.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, where I got this phone call from the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia, and they were like, "Hey, do you have room in your program for a 19-month-old?" But I misheard. I thought he said 19-year-old girl. Just wasn't paying attention or was doing something else. I was like, "Oh yeah, we don't discriminate based on age. Get her to college, all these different things. Like we'll still help her out." And this guy, he was very patient with me. He's like, "No, you don't understand. Like I'm not talking 19-year-old. I'm talking 19-month-old." And I remember I think I dropped my phone. I was like, "What? Like a 19-month-old, like baby?" And he was like, "Yeah, like we have this case where a mother is selling her 19-month-old baby to an NYPD officer from New York who's traveling down to Medellin, Colombia, abusing the kid, filming it, uploading it to all these different websites, and then traveling back home so he can work his shift on the weekends. And I remember at first, that story broke my heart. For one, she's a baby, bro. She's 19 months old. Two, like, it was her mother. It was her own mother that was facilitating the abuse and profiting off of this abuse. And then three, like, an NYPD officer. Like, you talk about someone from someone on the outside looking in for, like, law enforcement, like the NYPD. Like, there are all these TV shows about them. There's all these, they're immortalized when you walk through New York. And to know it was one of them that was facilitating and paying for the abuse and performing the abuse. It just, and every single year, it seems like there's something that happens where it's just like a new level of like evil kind of like one-ups each other to where, but what we can do is we said yes to that baby. That was the one thing we said is, yes, we'll take that kid. That's when I first learned like how expensive formula and diapers and a crib was, all these things that a baby has to have to survive and to grow. And honestly, she's been just a total blessing. Like she's 3.5 now. She's starting preschool. She talks kind of, but she walks and she really enjoys the beach. And for me, like knowing like where she came from, the hell that she lived in to now she just gets to be a preschool kid that goes to the beach on the weekends. Like for me, there's nothing better.
So for the benefit of our audience, just so everybody's aware, we hope that this is an educational discussion, not one that creeps you out. It's not meant to creep you out. Nothing that's going to be said today by Tyler or any of our guests is anything but the truth. And we live in a world that has evil, and sometimes the level of evil can shock even guys like Tom and I. When a 19-month-old child, a baby, a toddler, is sold in such a way by a parent, I cannot think of a more horrific situation that a human being could do to another person. I just can't. The ultimate betrayal. Your protector, your mother, gives birth, pushes you into this life out of financial desperation, out of psychosis, mental health issue, out of just pure evil. Whatever is no child should ever have to go through that. And it's disgusting if it happens to a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old or an 18, but a 19-month-old child. This is soul-staining stuff, right? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you hate to even imagine, but it's out there. And this is not unique, is it, Tyler?
No, it's not. It happens every day. It doesn't just happen, like Dominican Republic or Colombia. It happens here in the States as well. Some of the most horrific cases that I've seen, like here in the States, it happens everywhere. I think it happens probably closer to home than any of us want to admit as well. I mean, even like in my hometown of Star Valley, Wyoming, like the most small, conservative, sheltered place on planet Earth. There was a case like 2.5 months ago of a guy. There's a normal guy lived in the community that was part of this group of predators that would facilitate this thing called cyber sex trafficking, which really came to a head like in the pandemic, where essentially a group of guys get together, they find a vulnerable kid who has a pimp in the Philippines or in Cambodia or something, and they'll pay to watch live stream abuse of those kids. And like my hometown probably has like 10,000 people in it. It's a really small high school, maybe 700 kids in the high school. And to know that like this monster was living among us that was facilitating the abuse of kids that lived halfway around the world, I think that's the scariest part. I think is that these people, they're kind of hidden in plain sight. They don't look like the devil. They don't look like Jeffrey Dahmer. They just kind of look like normal everyday people. And one thing you touched on, I really think is important is, the stuff that I think, talking about this and talking about human trafficking, like not pleasant. It kind of sucks. It's gross. But I think the thing that does the most disservice to the girls that I support is to keep quiet about it. Because that's what the bad guys want. If it's too gross, you don't talk about like the pimps, the traffickers, the predators, like they're like, great, cool. Don't talk about it. Don't worry about it. And it allows them to kind of thrive in darkness. And you really have to just like shine a bright light on these people and let them know, hey, we're watching, we know what you're doing, and make them essentially famous for what they've done, cause that public embarrassment. And I think doing that It adds respect to the victims who have survived and also gives words and verbiage to people that maybe are suffering in silence that didn't even know that they were a victim of this kind of type of crime.
Right. So you're doing all this. I mean, you're traveling, yourself to kind of do this research. At what point do you just say, okay, one, enough, and two, there is something I can do, and this is what I'm going to do? Well, what's your next step in this crusade that you're on, this mission you're on to help? When does that get to a different level?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually had this experience when I was traveling home to the Dominican Republic. I'd had like my whole life planned out where it's like, okay, I'm going to get a business degree. I'm going to get an MBA. I'm going to get a PhD or whatever, go to school for 12 years, make just a crap ton of money, and then just start when I'm like 45, 50 years old, to start giving to charities or start a charity when I retire. And I had my plan, like what I was going to do to just really help the cause. Because one thing I saw when I met with like nonprofits is just like they have no money, that nobody has any money, and they're trying to do the work that they have just on peanuts and crackers. And I was in the Delta Lounge, flying home from the Dominican Republic on like a Delta flight from Atlanta to Salt Lake City. And I met this guy in the Delta Lounge, and he noticed that I had like a Dominican flag on my shirt. I noticed that he had some kind of Dominican saying on his hat. And I was kind of like in this weird trance where I was just kind of like trying to process like all the information that I had. And this guy, maybe like in his late 50s or something, and he was like, "Oh, you were in the Dominican Republic. Like, what were you doing down there?" And just as a joke, just as like a pure dark humor, trying to make sense of my own trauma I just experienced, I was like, "Oh, just visiting a few clubs." Just a really corny, lame joke of what I had trying to experience. And for whatever reason, like call it chance, call it fate, call it God, I don't know. But this guy just confided in me. He was like, yeah, I get it, bro. Like I work in the ER in Atlanta, and the Dominican Republic is great because I can hop on a plane after my shift on Friday, like at 6:37, get to the DR by 9, essentially abuse kids all weekend. He didn't say it exactly like that. He was like, he would maybe say it a little bit cleaner, where it's like engage in underage prostitution or whatever all weekend, and then fly back home and make it back to my shift before 9 a.m. on Monday. And that was my first real conversation with like a buyer. And I remember I was just like, I just listened to him talk, just had like this look on my face, gathered up my stuff, and just walked out, went and did like laps around around the Atlanta airport. I don't remember what I did, but I just was, I couldn't believe that someone like that actually existed. Like that there was someone that was actually purchasing to facilitate the abuse of the young girls that I had met like in those brothels in that nightclub. And I was like, if I'm going to do something, I can't wait 30 years. Like who knows like how many girls could still be alive or be dead, or how much could this happen? Like if I'm going to do something, I have to do something right now. And so I did something right now. I went home. I got off my plane. I started a nonprofit. It started as like a GoFundMe. Like that's how I funded the nonprofit. And it really got off the ground because I had one guy that kind of stepped forward and was like, "Look, I want to give you $5,000, but I need the write-off. You need to get your tax exempt status. You need to get registered and all these different things." And for the most part, like I was funded in the beginning by just college kids giving $5, $10, $3, $1 a month. And when my first big donor came and he wanted his write-off, that's when I got registered. And then we took off from there. And like in all I traveled the world trying to figure out like what the heck was going on. Like I went to Ukraine, I went to South Africa, I went to Guatemala, I went to Mexico. And the thing that just really stuck with me the most of all these different things that were happening is the fact that American everyday people, these like secret pedophiles, were traveling to these countries to abuse vulnerable kids on weekends or on vacations or on bachelor parties or whatever, and just leaving a wake of abuse in their travels and then coming home as if nothing happened. A lot of them had families, kids, whatever. They just became monsters when they boarded that airplane. And so in all my travels, that's the thing I really stuck with the most, and that's what I've been really dedicated to doing for the last 5 or 6 years or so.
So Libertas, this organization, tell us what you guys specifically do. I'd love to hear how methodology. How you...
Yeah, so our main thing is just supporting the survivors. Like that's our number one goal of every time that like someone calls us and someone needs help, we never want to say no, and we always want to make sure that that we do everything in our power to support the survivors that have survived the abuse. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of just something that happened this week, where we got referred, and this is a case we've been working on for a long time, but we got a new victim of this guy in the last couple of days. This guy, like, people can look him up. His name is Stefan Correa. He's a pharmacist from Miami, maybe late 40s. And he's pled guilty, so his sentencing will happen in Miami at some point in June. And this guy, he was a pharmacist that would abuse kids in Colombia. So he would buy a bunch of iPhone 6s. He would travel down to Colombia. He had a pimp that he was working with, and he would film the abuse discreetly. And his thing, in his communication with his pimp, he would tell the pimp, find me girls that are 9 to 12. Those are the ones I want to abuse. Make sure they're very skinny, that they haven't hit puberty yet. And tell them if they don't cry during the assault, that I will give them an iPhone 6. Really upstanding gentleman that we're talking about here. And so he got arrested. We've been supporting his victims for a long time. We have a new victim of his that just came into our program last week. She is the youngest of his victims. She was 9 when he abused her. She's 12 now. And so with her, it's like, okay, well, how do we just meet your basic needs? Let's make sure you have food, shelter, medical care, that you're in a safe place. Like, what can we do to make sure that you feel safe? Then once that is done, we kind of go up a level where it's like, well, what do you want to do? What's kind of impeding your progress now? Is it high school? Is it middle school? In her case, is it elementary school? Is it some kind of technical training? This young kid, she has some pretty severe trauma, as you can imagine, being abused when she was 9 years old consistently. So there's a pretty big investment that's coming on our part to where we do some reconstructive surgery to help allow her to gain control of her body again. Basically control when and where she goes to the bathroom. It's something that she can't control currently. And then on the highest level that we're currently working with now is also the aspect of justice. To where, how do we empower her, if this is what she wants, to make sure that this guy that abused her is held accountable? And so in that case, like, that's a case that we really just kind of link arms with our partners at the Colombian National Police, the Dominican National Police, the locals here in the United States, and also the federal authorities like Homeland Security investigations, to where, how do we help you in making sure that these guys are held accountable? On the Colombian side, it's more of like budget shortfalls. Like, oh, we want to go interview this girl, but we don't have the money to put in our gas in our truck because she lives 40 minutes outside the city, and we're working on pennies and nuts anyway. So it's us filling up a tank so they can go provide an official interview to this 12-year-old girl. On the federal side of the United States, it's allowing them to have access to interview her as well, make sure she's comfortable, make sure she's prepared for this interview, make sure that her words are allowed to be shared in federal sentencing with the Department of Justice, with Homeland Security. And if there's any more perpetrators that have abused her in her time as a victim, that information is then shared to Homeland Security, and they can do what they will with that information. And that's kind of our program in a whole, focused on the survivor and her aspects of healing, whether it be emotional healing, physical healing, and then like there's that aspect of justice, which I really like, because there's a special kind of healing that happens when these girls are the ones that end up on top, where the guys that abuse them, they don't get away with it. They get put in jail. They get put handcuffs. They get their bank accounts drained via restitution, and they get put away in front of the whole world in federal court when the girl gets to speak her truth about what happened. And that's kind of what we do as a whole. That's Libertas International in a nutshell.
I had a 2-part question actually while you were talking, and you kind of answered them both. And we just go over it again because I think it's important to get out there. Your involvement and your participation with law enforcement is pretty strong, either on a local level or a federal level. And what I love and what's so outstanding and just really comes out is it's not just getting people, getting these kids into a good spot, providing for their future. You're actually still going after the bad guys too, which has to be done because one doesn't work without the other. If the bad guys aren't held accountable, locked up, and whatever else happens to them, it just keeps going. And you're doing both, which is amazing, which is absolutely incredible that it's not just one dimensional. You're going after these people who need to be locked up and made examples of, not just on the criminal justice level, but on an education level of this is what's going on. And funding needs to be done more on this in this world with companies like you and just overall in general. But how satisfying is it when one of your victims' bad guys is held accountable?
Oh man, that's such an awesome question. It's such an amazing feeling. Like for one, like in this time, like it's a weird time politically to where I think a lot of like, especially like Homeland Security is really demonized. Like I've cried with these agents, man. Like I've seen these agents just like, they're like, I want to do so much more for these girls. I want to do so much more for these victims. Like I'm handcuffed by the federal system. We have no money to invest like on the private side to where like we actually make their lives better. I don't want them to feel used. We just use them for their testimony. Like these people, like these agents, like they're human. And I get to see like just the most vulnerable and beautiful parts of them. I'm just so thankful for them because it's a needed thing that has to happen, and they're the ones that have the authority to do it. If you can somehow help them while also validating their humanity, man, it just makes a big difference. No, I love when these bad guys get put away, man. These guys are just, they're animals, they're monsters. Like people have tried to like explain to me, it's like, well, or ask me the question of like, well, how do these guys end up being these monsters? And honestly, like, I don't know. And I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like they're monsters. I don't care how they got to be that point. All I know is what they are, and they should be held accountable. I'll tell you two stories that really, when it comes to just like this satisfaction of like seeing these guys in jail. There's one guy, his name was Herbert Fletcher. He'd been sentenced in federal prison in New York City, and he would travel down to Colombia, and he would abuse girls, film the abuse, and then put it on Pornhub as his side hustle, and so ruin the lives of these girls, just ruin them because they're abused. Like there's one girl that just she's a really special kid. She's a grown woman now, but her abuse was downloaded something like 9 million times before it was finally taken down off Pornhub. And at that point, you just immortalized like her worst moments. And when he was being sentenced, we had two of these girls with us that could speak at his sentencing. Not only that's a very nerve-wracking experience because this guy, this trafficker, this monster, he really did ruin their life. He ruined their childhood. He's a monster. He's sitting in federal court with his attorneys and with his whole family. There's like 25 members of his family there supporting him, saying that these girls who are 12 and 13 tricked him into what he did. And these girls just really let him have it in federal court. Like they had this impact statement wrote up that was very touching and very beautiful. And his attorneys kind of made some shots at them. It was like these girls were street girls. They were addicts. They were asking for it. And both these girls, they were just like, that's not true. Like I worked at an ice cream store. Like he tricked me into that Airbnb. So they crumpled up these nice, well-written victim impact statements. They chucked them, and they went up there and they just let the guy have it. They just spoke like just out of pure rage. And man, it was awesome. Like the judge was like listening. We were all listening. It was all like a pin drop. And there was nothing that I could do except to sit there and watch. And in my head, I was like, this is what you talk about, like freedom. This is what freedom looks like. Like you remove them from their bad guy, right? And you watch them kind of grow up in this process to work on their healing, to work on their physical, their emotional, their spiritual healing. And now 4 years later, they're in federal court letting this guy have it with none of, like, I'm not helping them at all. I'm just sitting back and watching. And I was like, this is what it looks like. This is what Libertas looks like. This is what freedom looks like. This is what empowerment looks like. These girls won, and they're letting this guy have it on their own. This is what it looks like. And for me, that was really satisfying because I just sat back and watched. I was great. I was like, it's the best show on earth. Take that experience and then flip it to the other side of the world. There's a guy. This is another sad story of a law enforcement official that really just let the system let his community down. Especially like the U.S. military. I know that they hold themselves to a very high esteem. This guy is like there's not many POSs quite like Dominic DiVincenzo. Dominic, he was a military guy in Iraq. I think he is. I don't remember what unit he was with, but he served in Iraq, came home, and then decided to be an expat in Colombia. And his thing is that he really enjoyed girls that had special needs, that were homeless, just the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. That was his go-to population. and he terrorized the city of Medellin, Colombia for about 3 years. And some very brave individuals came forward to report the abuse that he had inflicted on them. And so at 6 a.m. in the morning last year, myself, Homeland Security Investigations, the Columbia National Police, we raid his penthouse. There, we find him in bed with a 15-year-old girl with special needs. And he has the gall to shout at all of us, "You guys have no proof. You guys have no proof. These girls are bad girls. You guys have no proof of what you're saying, human trafficking, exploitation, all these different things." And from jail, he actually tried to kill one of his victims. This girl, 17 years old, was brave enough to report what this guy did to her, where this girl actually tried to tell him no, and he drugged her and he did it anyway.
Looking for powerful defense without the mess? Meet Impact, a revolutionary line of chemical irritants designed for law enforcement, military, and personal protection. With no blowback, no cross-contamination, and easy cleanup, Carry Impact delivers unmatched stopping power without the hassle. Whether you're in the field or on the street, safety should never be compromised. Protect yourself with the next generation of defense. Carry Impact, stopping power, redefined.
Patriot is a premium whiskey hard seltzer. We've carefully crafted 4 flavors that not only taste exceptional, but can be enjoyed on any occasion, anytime. We're committed to giving back 5% of all profits to the core groups we call the backbone of America. We are proud to help those who serve our great country. This is America's Seltzer, the brand that stands for quality, community, and the American spirit.
He tried to kill her. And so we probably had 24 hours to act on our part before he actually succeeded in killing this witness. And lucky for us, we intervened. We had some support from Homeland Security Investigations, from the Columbia National Police, got her safely, and he was sentenced to 15 years in a Colombian gulag. And man, just saying that makes me so happy, because he could not have happened to a worse individual. This guy, he represents everything wrong with I think our species of men. He liked them vulnerable. He liked them weak. He told a female journalist, when a female journalist was asking him about the screams and the cries in his apartment, because he was investigated by the journalist before he was investigated by us. And he told this female journalist, next time you go home, he told this to a female journalist, go home, look out your window, take in the world, and realize that it was built by men, American men. And when everything was built by American men, I can do whatever I want, and you can't stop me. And it's in writing. He was stupid enough to put that in writing. And so knowing that he's in a Colombian gulag now, just suffering the consequence of what he did, brings me a lot of joy.
Oh, joy it is. And what a way to end kind of the first half of this episode. And I just want to take a break real quick before Dan gets to his next comment and question. And again, let everyone know about our great new sponsor, goals.com. All their gear on their website, as well as their tactical gear, are part of Gold Shields now, so please support them and be part of Goals. And 2 other really close to our heart organizations, Copline, copline.org, 1-800-267-5463. Please, if you're out there and you need someone to talk to in the law enforcement world, don't wait too long. Our numbers are way too high with suicides and domestic abuse and alcoholism and all that. Please, even if it's a quick call just to get something off your chest, please reach out to them. Copline.org, 1-800-267-5463. And our new group that we are so proud to be part of is Wounded Warrior Project. Please go check them out. Dan's got the hat on today. Wounded Warrior Project, support.woundedwarriorproject.com. Please go to them, check them out. Donate, do whatever you can to support our heroes that are out there. Right, Danny?
Absolutely. We're very proud to be aligned with these organizations because they actually do what they say they're going to do. There are NGOs out there and there are groups that don't necessarily put everything into, give it all back to what they say they represent. Wounded Warrior is one that does. And they're changing lives of people who actually put their lives on the line for us. We owe them that. So if you're going to give your extra few dollars, if you want to skip Starbucks one day, not to put Starbucks down, but you want to put an extra $5 or $10 a month into something, or even a 20, do it to something that's going to get some work done. Libertas International, doing the real work that's out there to save people. Wounded Warrior Project, Copline. These are organizations that are actually helping people, and Tom and I are proud to be aligned with them. So put your money where your mouth is. If you care about these things, do it.
Yep. Just I misspoke. I'm sorry. There's so many .coms and .orgs out there that it gets in my brain. Support.woundedwarriorproject.org. Please go to them, donate, check them out.
So back to our show, Tyler. Thank you for listening to our shameless plugs for our friends. But that's part of what we're all about here. Tom and I, when we started this podcast about 2.5 years ago now, Tom, and we still can't believe we're doing it as long as we are, we determined in our discussion with it that we both felt very strongly about having it not just be a bunch of blather, but that it actually raises awareness, helps people, and helps the right people who are doing the right thing in this world, people who are looking out for others, and the organizations that can make a difference. So we are proud to be aligned with these folks, and we're proud to talk to you today more. You know, something you said earlier, Tyler, really hit me. And Tom and I can both say this, and a lot of cops and military can all say this. You think you've seen and heard everything? And then all of a sudden something hits you. And you mentioned that poor young girl who needed reconstructive surgery to be able to control her bodily function as a result of her. I want that to sink in to anybody who's listening, the extent of what this abuse, and it is abuse, does to some people. It is horrific to think of that. This is the kind of work that your organization is doing, helping people get that life-correcting treatment. And I can't tip my hat enough to you for that. But wow, that really hit home and hit me, because that's who can even imagine how horrific that must be, right?
Yeah, it's that's one of those stories that's just like kind of seared in my head, where it's like, it's seared in my head, but it's also an honor to be able to kind of like receive that type of ask, and then be able to like be a person that's a safe place to tell, and be able to tell that person, yeah, we can totally help you with that, because it's already embarrassing enough for her as a 12-year-old kid kind of coming into like being a teenager, of being like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Like there's something that happened and I need this fixed, and like there's things that have happened throughout my career that like people have disclosed things to me that I'm just like, first thing, I can't believe that we live on the same planet, that like our experience is so vastly different. And then just like so grateful for like people that give to the foundation, so that I have some resources to be like, yeah, we can totally help you with that. Like I think like 2 stories that were just like, there's one girl, I sat down with her, I was referred her case. And when I sat down with coffee with her, she did not like me. She just didn't. She was, because I was a dude. I was an American dude. And I just remember how defiant she was, how just short she was with me. And so we sat down with coffee, just like, like we're doing right now. And the first thing she told me, she was like, I want this out of the way right now. I'm not going to have sex with you. And I was like, great. I'm not gonna have sex with you either. So we're off on a good foot. Made this really crappy joke that she thought was really funny. And so it kind of got us off like this like tension that we had built, and it kind of got her to feel more comfortable. And she started disclosing about this guy that abused her named Francis Peter Kennedy. They can look him up. Like he's in jail in Argentina. Interpol arrested him last year. And she started to tell me about what had happened to her, about how her mom trafficked her to this American guy, that he would abuse her. He would have his friends abuse her. At this point, like, these are stories I've heard already, but they're still horrific, where I'm just like, okay, yeah, taking notes. And then she started to just go further into detail, and this became just the most horrific guy I'd ever heard about. She was like, yeah, he would abuse me. He would sell me to his friends, and he would also, he would make me do things to his dog. And at this point, I was like, just dumbfounded. I'd never heard that kind of stuff before. This guy, that he would force girls to be involved in like bestiality. And then she was like, and then when we were done, he would make me read from his favorite book, which was Mein Kampf. I was like, this dude's he's a pedophile, trafficker, hurts dogs, and he's a Nazi. Like, the only thing he's missing for like the evil trifecta is cannibal. That's the only thing he was missing. And so she asked me, she was like, I have an ass right now. She's like, I'm going to put my faith in whatever this is. like there's some things going on with my body. I'm afraid that I might have some kind of STD that's transmitted via animal. Can you help me? For one, like just the vulnerability of like asking that, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then just being able to be like, yes, like let me know. Do you have your doc? She's like, I haven't, the doctor's going to check it out. I just need to get it paid. So we pull up my laptop, like right there at the coffee shop. We logged in, put in my credit card information, paid for it right away. And I was like, when can you go? Your next appointment? And it was like then the week after or something. So we paid it, set the appointment. And she like, from that point on, like she knew I was someone I could trust, because I had put my action forward, as well as like our donors, to be able to like, this girl needs a $200 STD check for some kind of stuff that's transmitted via animal. And she was able to get that, which is like, so someone be able to ask like things like that, just really like, it's such an honor to like be able to receive that information, be able to say yes. And you know, it's a very similar story that really just, it kind of, this story kind of like changed my whole being, because it happened with a survivor that I've been working with for 5 years. She's an older survivor. She's in her early 30s. And her case in Guatemala, like the traffickers tried to kill her and her family. So they made a run for it. They left Guatemala and they decided to come ask for asylum at the U.S. border. And her daughter, that I'd known since she was like 8 years old. I've been working with this girl for a long time. She was 12. I think it was when this happened. They tell me like, hey, we had to flee Guatemala because they tried to kill us. We're in Tijuana. What do we do? And I was like, oh God, I don't know. Like, let me come down and see you. I'll fly to San Diego and we'll see what's up. So I flew down with a buddy. We met them, took them to dinner, got them, you know, just basic stuff. It's like, if you're going to ask for asylum at the U.S. border, you probably should be prepared with like food and clothing, all these different stuff while you wait for your turn in line. Because they didn't want to sneak in. They want to do it like the right way, which I really admire. And so we're getting ready to say goodbye, and I start to just, you know, say hugs and say, you know, just do the whole goodbye thing. And her daughter just starts to cry, like really cry. And, you know, you just know when something just isn't quite right. And so I took her aside and I'm just like, hey, honey, like, what's going on? Like I know we're saying goodbye, but I'll be back. I can fly here like whenever I want. Like San Diego is really close to a lot of things. And she was like, it's not that. She was like, do you have a second to chat? And I was like, yeah, I have a second to chat. And so she pulls me aside. She's shaking, like her little 12-year-old hands are just shaking. She grabs my hand, just, you know, looking for some kind of stability. Then she was like, I know that you've bought us food, you've bought us some new clothes, and you've paid our rent. She's like, I want to ask for one more thing, but I feel embarrassed because you've like the foundation is given so much already. And I was like, just ask. Like, it's fine. Like, just ask. What do you need? And she starts to cry again. She starts to breathe really heavily. And she was like, I need some tampons. Because our money ran out in Mexico City. And we walked from Mexico City to Tijuana, which, just for context, that's like a 3-hour flight, I think, from Mexico City to Tijuana. So it's like a week and a half walk. They walked the whole way, and her period came halfway through. And she'd been wearing the same pair of underwear this whole time. So a week of her first period, and hasn't changed her clothes or bathed. And so she's sobbing. She's like, can you please buy me some underwear? And I was like, first off, I think that's the bravest thing that anyone's ever said to me. Because like the vulnerability it took to disclose that to me. I've known this girl for a long time, but I'm not her dad. I'm still a male. I'm someone who's paid, you know, to help her. So to tell me like that need in such an intimate way. So I was like, no, like, you're going to go do that with your mom. Like, here's my card. You don't need me to go with you to buy underwear. Take my card, give her my card. I had her mom come over, go buy all the underwear you need, go take a shower, go do your thing. I'm going to stay here with your dad and eat some nachos until you get back. But you don't need me to be a part of, you know, that intimate process of buying underwear. But yes, like, get whatever you need, take my credit card and go get what you need. And she did. She came back. She was happy. She was clean. She'd got everything taken care of. Bought some tampons, all that different stuff that has to go with like your first period. And I share those stories as well as like the story of like the vaginal reconstructive surgery, because like there's situations that I didn't ever dream that I would live in this life. That these people that we all share this planet, but we have such vastly different experiences. But like, what an honor it is to be able to like take that vulnerability that someone discloses of a situation that you'll never hear of, you've never heard of, and probably never hear of again, and be able to fill the need in a way that helps them move forward and heal from that.
Well, here's why. Because you're their guardian angel. That's why. And that's the way they look at you. You're a miracle to them. And that's why they bare their soul to you and ask you anything, because we can at any point get on our knees and ask anything we want. And they look at you that way. And that is the truth. That kind of goes to my next question of how much contact do you have with kids that you've saved to now being adults, and where they're at with their lives and what you actually accomplished?
Most of them, actually, which is awesome. Because of our program is so like survivor centered, like we really maintain in contact with a lot of them. Most of them, actually. So I've seen some grow up. I've seen some start families. I've seen some open businesses. You know, I have one like that traveled with me to Boise that we rescued when she was 14. I've seen one that I rescued when from a school teacher from Austin, Texas. She actually traveled to UN with me and spoke at the UN. And when I found her, you know, like beaten and bloodied and trafficked when she was 14, and then to see her speak at the UN 4 years later, like that was pretty surreal. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Yeah. So there's a story that I really like. I call this girl. She's from Guatemala. She was being trafficked by a member of her story is complex because she was being trafficked by the MS-13 gang, and the gang was headed by a local judge in the city that she lived in, right? And she was trafficked from 10 to 13, and this case, like we intervened, myself, the Guatemalan National Police, and the members of the U.S. Embassy. We went to this lake where she was being trafficked. We rescued her, and again, like this girl, like did not want anything to do with me at the time. Like she was defiant. She was not super friendly, and she was dressed as if she was 21, but she was only 13 years old. And so she was taken to a government shelter, and I actually lost contact with her for a couple of years, which is really sad because in some countries we have a really good relationship to walk with these kids for the long haul, and in some it's like, well, the system's going to take them, do their system, their trauma that they experience in the system, and then put them back with their families. And so on my end, I was working to find this girl. Her name is Daisy. She's public now, so I can use her real name. And I was working to find her because I knew that she would probably still need help. A couple years had passed. She was 15. She goes back home. She's known as like, you know, the prostitute, the girl that was trafficked. Her reputation had really taken a hit. And she was trying to graduate high school with her graduating class, but there were some costs that she couldn't cover. And the cost was like $700. Like it wasn't that much money, but for a Guatemalan kid, like it just wasn't going to happen. And so she's applying for all these jobs, and the way she tells the story on my end, like I worked my way to get her phone number. I was going to call her and offer our help again. But something happened during the day and during that week where I couldn't do it until Friday. And on her end, like that same week, she saw that McDonald's had some job openings. And she's got hopeful. She was like, "Oh, I can finally like make some money, help my mom, go to finish middle school, finish high school." And so she goes and applies to McDonald's. On Monday, she passes the first interview. She asked to come back on Wednesday. So she comes back really hopeful she can work at McDonald's. She passes the next interview on Wednesday, and there's only one spot. There's like 3 people now fighting for the spot. And on Friday, she goes and she gets denied. She gets denied her job at McDonald's. So she's walking home, and she's just so defeated. Like her reputation has taken a hit. She's still really poor, and so she sits down and just starts to cry. You know, she starts to cry at McDonald's, like outside McDonald's. It just hope is lost outside McDonald's. And I just happened to get like a second during my lunch break or something. I text her. I call her like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I'm the American that was on that operation. We still want to help you. Do you want to chat and see how we can help?" And at first she was nervous. She was like, "How'd you get my phone number?" I was like, "Oh, I got it from this other girl that we're helping from your same case." And she was like, "Okay, can we talk in the evening?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can talk in the evening." So we call her in the evening, and she tells me, she's like, "Well, I really want to finish high school, but I'm behind a year because there's this cost I can't cover at $700. And I was like, "Cool. Well, tell me your bank information. We'll send you a wire on Monday. You just get it paid." And she was like, "Really? That easy?" And I was like, yeah, do we need to make it like more complex? Like, am I missing something? And she was like, no, that sounds great. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I sent the wire information. She got the thing paid. She finished high school. She's studying social work now. But that story, I didn't realize just how much like this story meant to her, because she's a great kid, but she's quiet. So she touches base like every other month or something. And when she was graduating high school, I sent her like, "Hey, congratulations! Like, you're graduating high school." And she sent me a picture of like this ring, like her high school graduation ring that some people do that have like the date inscribed of like when people graduate. And I was like, "Oh, that's such a cool ring." And she was like, "I want to show you like what I did. Like my ring is different from the rest of my class." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And so she shows me the inside of the ring, and it's the date that she was rescued, April 6, 2018, the day that we met. And she was like, that's a day where I was removed from my trafficker. The guys were arrested. I could actually had the freedom to apply and get rejected at McDonald's. And now, like looking back of just how I survived that abuse and how I'm graduating high school and I've gone to social work school and all these different things. It was that day, the day of her rescue, that she decided to put in the inside of her ring that she'll have forever. And for me, like, she didn't have to do that. But for me, like, man, it just like, just what a blessing it is to be able to like see them in their worst moments and then do everything we can to help them get to a moment to where they put their worst moment inside of a ring to remember where it all started.
You know, Tom and I both, we have these moments on the show when we look at each other, we don't know what to say except, wow, and these stories are unbelievable. They are true. They are so inspiring to want to help what you're doing, because you change one life, right? Save one life, save the world. And what you're doing is you're showing that God lives, and that there is a Holy Spirit, and all this stuff happens on earth. There are good people who are doing God's work on earth, and you are. I bet there isn't a young woman or male, I know that's the case too, who you've been involved in helping out, who wouldn't for the rest of their lives look back on the first time they heard about or saw you and think that that was a pivotal moment. That was the absolute moment my life changed and I got my life back. So what you do is incredible, and I cannot say enough about giving. Anybody who's out there, if you're not giving to Libertas International, you have money and you want to donate something worthwhile, Libertas International, the place, right, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, Dan just hit it. We so many times have these shows that we're speechless, and because here's why, everyone who knows us and follows us and subscribes to the show understands and knows that we don't have a script to the show. There's nothing written down. There's no questions. It's not a Q&A. So when we hear these, Dan and I are hearing these the same time as our audiences, and the impactful emotions that our followers are listening to is the same as us. And you are one remarkable person. And I just want to get to one more thing before we say goodbye. You're in the midst of another feel-good story right now with a story from a different part of the world, which you haven't touched with. So hit that up real quick, Tyler, because I want everyone to know this one as well. Yeah,
so a lot of my work, like, honestly, has been focused on, Latin America, the Americas, the South and North America. And in 2016, I met this girl in Mexico. She was a refugee from Afghanistan. I got a little bit of like her story of just who she is. We hit it off, like we became friends. She was only 18 at the time. I think I was like 25. And she was an interpreter for the American Army, and then she worked at like a bazaar inside of like one of the American bases. And she had this really amazing American soldier who's also a Christian that promised her dad, when time comes, like I'll help get your daughter out to get her just a better life that's not in Afghanistan. And so she did. Like I met her kind of in the middle of that journey in Mexico, and we exchanged information, like Instagram accounts. We could follow each other and all these different things. I head back to Wyoming, and she stays in Mexico City, and we've stayed in touch, like, here and there, especially like in 2021 or 2022 when the Taliban took over Afghanistan again. just checking how her family was. And so, this year, we've been following each other on Instagram a lot, but we'd lost touch of like talking consistently. That's not via social media. And at the start of the new year, one of my things is just like when I turned 30, like there's some kind of like weird mortality that kind of creeped into my life where it's like we're not gonna be around forever. If you have a chance to say yes to somebody you haven't connected with and to show them that you care, you just gotta take that chance because you just don't know like when our time is up, And so her, like she comments on one of my pictures, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen this girl forever. So I texted her and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm in Boise, Idaho. I'm living out here. I got my asylum, and I was like, oh, we should totally meet up and have dinner or whatever. And so I drive out to Boise. We have dinner. It was great to connect with her. And I'm driving back. I'm like an hour outside of Boise at this point, and she calls me and she's crying. And whenever someone calls me crying, like I'm just like, oh God, like what's next? Like what happened? Like what's coming out of her mouth next? And she was like, I can we talk? Like, can you come back? Like there's something I need to talk with you about. I want to share it at dinner, but I couldn't. And whatever it was, it was like I couldn't hold it anymore. So like, yeah, I'll come back. To come back, we meet at Starbucks, and she was like, I want to tell you about my sister. My sister, she's still living in Afghanistan. She's 15, and she was assaulted by a number of members of the Taliban to the point to where it left her in a wheelchair, to where she can't walk. She doesn't have function of her legs, and the doctors in Afghanistan say that she can still repair that, but she needs medical help in Dubai, no longer in Afghanistan. And she was like, would you help me raise money for my family to get my sister and my grandma out of Afghanistan and get her some kind of medical care? And like, how do you say, you can't say no. Like, you can't say no to that ask. You're like, of course. Like, this is my first experience really into like who the Taliban is, what they do, how evil they are, especially when it comes to like women and young women, kids, girls. And so we're working on getting her medical help, and the Taliban attacks her whole family. And so this mission that was take this 15-year-old kid out of Afghanistan for medical care then became evacuate a whole family out of Afghanistan so that the Taliban doesn't kill them, because they abused this 15-year-old kid and they're seeking medical help to make sure that she can have a normal life after this. And so that's my current thing. So like people listening to this show, like our goal is to raise $20,000 to get this family out of Afghanistan, safely settled in a place in Central America where they can go and they have a place to stay. And so if people that want to donate, they can visit libertasinternational.org. And that's what we're currently raising money for at this current moment, is that $20,000 to help essentially save this family from the Taliban.
So you heard the story. You just heard it. Libertas International. Go online, give money to this cause. This is about as worthwhile as you're ever going to get of an expenditure. And it doesn't take a lot of money, a couple of bucks per person. But a lot of people, magnified, can move mountains and change whole families' lives. This is an innocent family victimized by a brutal terror organization that has a stranglehold over that section of the world. And they're just looking to have a normal life, as normal as you can have. And I know I'm going to be donating. Libertas International. The goal is 20 grand. Let's pop the top off of that, okay? We want to do that, right, Tom?
Anything we can. It is important. Saving children should not be a political thing. There shouldn't be a this side, that side garbage that goes on with every other subject, that we end up talking about. But when it comes to the lives and safety of children, that's a hard stop. So everyone who has a beating heart should be going to Libertas International and donating anything they can to help Tyler in this mission that he's on. And we can't say enough about you, man. And the only thing I can say is God works in very mysterious ways and sends soldiers down here for a particular reason. And you're certainly one of them.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. No, the feeling's mutual. I think with all these stories, I think sometimes people give me a little too much credit, where I couldn't do anything without my partners at Homeland Security Investigations, local law enforcement, foreign law enforcement, and more than anything, like the girls that welcome, they're part of my foundation. Like, I can't do anything if they don't choose to survive what's happened. Because if that happened to me, I honestly don't know if I'd have the will to keep on living. And the fact that they do and they thrive and they fight, I mean, they're the best part of the foundation. And what makes Libertas so special is the brave women and girls that call it home.
Well, in typical hero fashion, you are humble, and so you call out the work of others, and that's what we see here on the show. We're proud to call you a friend now, and we're going to help you any way we can because what you're doing is so important. We can't thank you enough, Tyler, for your time, for what you do, for listening to God's call in your life and making it happen. So, God bless you and everything. Right, Tom?
Yeah, thank you so much, my friend. And like Dan said, now we call you a friend. And in NYPD world, we're a pain in the ass. You don't get rid of us. So you're stuck with us for a long time.
Perfect. Wouldn't have it anyway.
It is an honor to meet you, to hear these stories, to hear what you're doing. And thank you for coming on the show. And this is why, Dan, and Tyler, at the end of our show, we pray for our law enforcement officers and our private citizens who are going out there to do good and help with the military, with government agencies to assist victims all over the place, whether you're a street cop driving around or you're someone like Tyler Schwab bouncing around the world helping kids. Say a prayer for these soldiers and these warriors who are doing a thankless job that no one asked them to do. It's all volunteer, and it's because of the love in their heart for humanity and other people that it's done. So please say a prayer for all of them and keep them all in your prayers. And as always, everyone, go to our website, thegoldshieldshow.com, youtube.com/@goldshields. Hit that subscribe button and bell and get notified of these great shows and information that we're having. And follow us on every audio platform you can think of. Because these shows are important, not just to hear them, but educate everybody in what's going on in the world. So for my partner, Dan Murphy, for an incredible guest, Tyler Schwab, this is Tom Smith for Gold Shields. Please, everyone out there, stay safe. We'll see everybody soon. And don't go anywhere. Overtime is on its way right after this.
And it's overtime. What cop doesn't love overtime? Here we are again after that show. Tom, I don't know about you. My jaw is on the ground.
You know what, Dan? We could spend a lifetime reading stuff and movies that depict this and all this. But when you hear someone who is face to face with these victims, either saving them or getting in front of them and hearing these horror stories, it is a different level.
Yep.
Completely different level of what's going on in the world. And people need to wake up and governments need to wake up.
Yep. Tyler Schwab is an incredible man. It's been an honor to get to know him a little bit today, and we're going to follow up with him for sure. The work he's doing is so important. Human trafficking for the sex industry happens in many ways. It happens through financial, it happens through grooming, it happens through force, it happens in a lot of ways, and he deals with all of it. This is a guy whose life was changed by an experience of seeing some stuff like that really got in his crow and he couldn't get out. And now he's helping people all over the world find a new life after the horrific abuse that they endure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, I said it during the show, the kidnapping thing. Yeah, okay, that's part of it, but it's more, that's a Hollywood script. There's intimidation, there's extortion, there's, revenge. There's all that go into it. And he told that story of just how simple a conversation of, no, we're doing this, come with me. And it's done. And it starts. And that's happening every single day around the world. And, these political hacks that are out there on both sides. And I ain't saying one side or another when it comes to this subject, because this is one of those that there should be no division anywhere when it comes to the amount of money that should be spent on the trafficking. Hey, everyone, wake up and listen to this. The United States is the #1 trafficking country in the world.
That's right.
Okay, it is. That is a bona fide fact. That's not from Gold Shields. That is a fact. And why? Because of what's going on around the world and then entering this country. So that has to be addressed.
#1 consumer of trafficked and abused young boys and girls is the United States of America. We got some house cleaning to do in this country. And so everybody who's upset about Elon Musk and Donald Trump looking to create efficiencies and find money that's being wasted in government needs to understand that there's a lot of money around and it needs to be put to the right purposes. Let's stop the nonsense, get off the politics, and put our money where our mouth is as a people, as a country, as a society. This is an international disgrace that this goes on. And it goes on under your noses. I don't care what zip code you're in, there's somebody underage being trafficked. That's a fact.
No
so
doubt.
Now it's time for us to do something about it.
Right. And it can be done. That's the whole point. There's things that can be done. There's funding, there's military ops, there's government ops that can be done. And that's the whole point of it. It can be fixed. And it's just need the group of people to focus on it. And hey, is it going to stop? No, we're not that dumb to tell you that around the world this is going to stop. But it significantly needs to come to a somewhat screeching halt or pause or whatever word you want to use, but that can be accomplished. And the more people donate, the more this conversation comes up either on podcasts or on the news or in blogs, whatever it might be. It needs to be done because it's that important. If you can't get behind helping kids, then you know what? Quit the human race.
That's right. That's right. And so Tyler Schwab founded Libertas, Libertas International. LibertasInternational.org is their website. It explains everything about what they do, how they do it, why. It's very impactful, and that's where you can give money. He has a specific ask from us today. He wants to raise $20,000 to help a family from Afghanistan, brutalized and who are marked for death by the Taliban and have been abused sexually by them, find a new life someplace in Central America. $20,000 to turn a family's life around. Come on. We got listeners. Buck up a little bit. I'm going to do it today. Tom's going to do it today. Get online, libertasinternational.org. Give your $5, your $10 bill. Not a lot of money. Tax deductible for that matter, too. And you can help change a family's life. Simple stuff. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Together we can help. That's all. And you can't have, warriors like Tyler out there and others who would do it. Craig Sawyer, is another one that comes to mind. They can't do it by themselves. We got to help them out. Another mind-blowing show that leaves me and you speechless, which sometimes is hard to do, but it does happen. Everyone out there, keep joining us at all our websites, YouTube, audios, all that good stuff. Please keep supporting us. We enjoy it so much, but thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see everybody soon. Stay safe out there.
All the best.